This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
Very pleasant good evening. Time for Startup Talk from Indian River State College with Mr. Tom Kindred.
Thank you, sir, and welcome to another segment and installment of Startup Talk, the show designed to assist and help Treasure and Research Coast residents who want to start, grow, or accelerate their business. As I always say, what a great place it is to own and operate a business along the beautiful Research and Treasure Coast. We will spend time during our hour together this evening to highlight and create awareness regarding the very powerful and robust business assistance and support programs that exist right here in our community at our very own Indian River State College. I am Tom Kindred, and I serve the community as the Regional Director for the Florida Small Business Development Center here at IRSC. Underwriters for this segment of Startup Talk are the Florida SBDC at IRSC and our good friends at Express Printing of Port St. Lucie. So, Greg, how are you this evening? Everything all right in your world?
Doing fine, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
I think we're sort of we've come to the end of spring sports and fall sports, I guess. Swimming and diving won for the I can't remember. Don't quote me on the women's 44 years, the men's 48 years.
Women are 37 consecutive and 41 overall.
Okay.
The men are 45.
Wow.
Now that tournament, which was in Buffalo because they alternate.
Right.
I was kidding with Scott. I said, "Wow, I hope you're not swimming outside." It's a gorgeous.
Right.
It's an Olympic complex up in Buffalo. I don't know how that was built up there, but yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
And the lady softball team is doing very well.
Good.
Baseball doing well as under their new leadership. So yeah,
Nice.
looking
nice.
good.
Okay. Basketball wrapped it up at the tournament.
And we ran into a very predictable buzzsaw when you run into the number one team in America, but it was an amazing game.
Well, good.
And they had two kids in the wake of everything that's going on with all these colleges now.
Right.
Two kids in Fort Myers, Florida, from Atlanta, Georgia, via Beverly Hills High School. Say what?
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
They're twins, and both of them had a great game against us.
Well,
But
good.
it was fun. Coach Charlie Wilson's out recruiting now.
Well, that's good. So they had a good year and
Yes.
and did well in our region and did well against our big rivals, Palm Beach State College and Dade County, and so anyway, did
We're
well.
looking for a three-peat in the state tournament next year.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as always, I appreciate the update on what's going on with Pioneer Sports. I like to remind people all the time you've got some high-end collegiate athletics going on right here along the Treasure Coast here at Indian River State College, and all these athletic events. There's never any charge for those events. It's a great time to bring the family out and see some collegiate sports. Basketball games, it's just nothing like them. They are just a lot of fun. So anyway, right there on main campus in Fort Pierce. As you know, Greg, it's a busy time for the SBDC. In the spring, we've got National Small Business Week coming up, the week of May the 5th, and for the 7th time, we will be hosting our Entrepreneurship and Small Business Conference. That will take place on Tuesday, May the 7th, and so I thought tonight we've got an incredible speaker and business educator and business author, and also a host of his own syndicated radio show. So I told him this will be a piece of cake for him tonight. But we've got with us tonight one of our big keynote speakers for the conference this year, Mr. Jim Blassingame. Welcome to the show this evening, Jim.
Hey, Tom. How you doing?
Good. So Jim is going to come down and and participate with us in this year's conference. He's going to speak at lunch. He's going to do one of our breakout sessions. He's going to do the radio show with us. He'll do a podcast with us. He'll do a book signing. So anyway, we're gonna talk tonight to Jim about his books and about his kind of years of researching and writing about business and speaking on business, and talk a little bit about the upcoming conference. So Jim, again, welcome to the show. Stay tuned with us just a couple minutes, Jim, as we get the show underway. And but I wanted to kind of start the show this evening talking about some of the other events that we do to support local business and support local entrepreneurship. The conference is one of the big things we do, and we're excited about this year's conference and excited about having Jim with us. But I just wanted to quickly kind of talk to one of our local entrepreneurs and local business people about the ongoing programs that we have. And with us tonight, I've got good friend and local entrepreneur, Mr. Ken Hoff. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Thank you, Tom.
Yep. So, Ken, you are currently engaged in a couple of our programs. You're taking advantage of the SBDC. You're also involved in our Mastering Your Startup training program. So start with just a little bit of background on yourself and experience and kind of what you're engaged in right now.
I'd be glad to. One of the things that I look forward to doing here with these classes and some of the services you provide are to move along and help me be motivated in my own business startup. Although I've been a business consultant now for about 8 years and been able to help people in not only consulting, coaching, I write business plans. In fact, you said a number of times.
Somebody else who has a business plan?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, one of those business plans again.
Oh, boy,
Yeah.
here we go.
Tom says that I could teach some of these classes, but I really do want to recommend to our audience that they come and check out the services that y'all provide, because even somebody who's experienced and knowledgeable in these areas, you learn all the time. Never
Right.
stop learning is one of my mottos.
All right.
But anyways, before that, I was a director of sales and marketing for a manufacturer, and that's what brought me up to the St. Lucie County area about 34 years ago. I probably sold half this county their first or second computer, because a lot of people remember me from my Staples days when I opened the Port St. Lucie store and then moved up and opened the Fort Pierce store. And
You were on US 1 in Port St. Lucie.
Yes. I was on both. I was on both.
Okay.
And I was the computer guy, and people used to wait in line because even if I didn't know the answer to the question, they knew I'd take care of them, and it was always a straight shooter, and I was there to help them. So,
Ken, that may be now that you've spilled the beans, you're a computer guy. I don't know. You may not make it out of the building tonight. With all the computer needs that all of us old folks have that are not so tech savvy. But anyway, so you started in the computer business, and again, you actually at one time even worked in the training area for the college, did you not?
yes, I did. For 8 years, I was with the Corporate and Community Training Institute as a business solutions consultant. And I set up specified or specialized training for companies and organizations based on their needs. So we would consult with them to see what we needed to do to help their employees.
Sure.
And so then we'd put together the whole program. And the nice thing about the CCTI and their programs is there's no need for college books and 3 credit courses. The business people have different needs, and so the Corporate and Community Training Institute definitely fills those needs.
Right. Now, Ken, you obviously understand the importance of staying current with business trends and issues, because I mean you're obviously in this space and have been in this space for a while. I mean, do you find that the SBDC and the CCTI that they provide programming and training that allows people to stay current with what's going on in the business field?
Yes, I certainly do. Not only do you get the basics, And I always refer some of my clients to talk to the SBDC first before they talk to me and hire me to help them with their business plans, because you provide a service that's not only free, but it's excellent. And you have a variety of tools that I'm impressed with, like the live plan and the
database,
the lean tool, and then
Right.
of course you have the databases, and that was one of the things that I was always very good at, and you provide that tool for free,
Right.
and so it allows somebody who's going into a specific business to actually look up their NAIC code, and then get a full printout of what other businesses look like that are in that
industry.
area.
Yeah. You've been involved in a number of startups. I mean, some your own, but a lot of helping others. I mean, how helpful have you found the Mastering Your Startup class that you're currently involved in?
Well, like I said before, the class is something that I could teach, but there's so much to learn, and for those that have been in business and maybe they were in corporate level operations, but they don't have a clue how to run some of the other parts, operations. And you help people and guide people in all those areas, because everybody there at the SBDC has tremendous experience.
Right.
And again, we talked about some of the tools. So there's definitely, for instance, exporting and international. I'm going to need that service, and you have an expert on hand.
Right. Emily.
Yeah.
Emily.
And
she's
you know,
amazing.
again, one of the nice things about the classes and the trainings and the workshops and the seminars that are put on by the SBDC in partnership with SCORE and through the CCTI really provides an entrepreneur and a business person like yourself the opportunity to network. I mean, how important is that collaborating and networking to a startup?
Oh, it's very important. In fact, when you first started the incubator there at the college and built the new building, I was able to network with a variety of incubator clients, and one actually hired me for 3 years almost.
Right.
And so I was able to not only get clients, but able to provide help and get help myself. But networking is so important. I'm a member of the St. Lucie County Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also an ambassador there. And that's what they do. They network. And the people who get the full advantage of the chamber are the ones that come to events. And they have 4 events a month that are monthly events, and then they also have annual. And you have all sorts of events all the time.
Well, Ken, listen, I really appreciate you taking time out tonight. We kind of dedicating the show tonight to talk about some of the activities that we're doing, and one of the big ones is our annual conference. It's coming up on May the 7th. It's during National Small Business Week, and Ken, you've always been one of those local business people. You're always involved in the events. You're there, and we appreciate that. And I appreciate you kind of talking tonight about why participating in these events is important. And one of the things that it took me a long time to learn, and unfortunately I learned it after I was out of my own private enterprise, my business, was that there's a concept in business where we talk about, there is a time when folks have to work, in the business, but you also have to take some time to work on the business.
Yeah.
And you've always had a good, healthy understanding of that you do have to take the time out to work on the business. So Ken, I appreciate you taking time out tonight and talking about the events, and we look forward to having you back on and talk about maybe how things wrapped up with the Mastering the Startup program went.
I appreciate that.
Yep.
It's been my honor.
Yep. So with that, I want to turn now to our guest, our second guest here, Mr. Jim Blassingame. And again, tonight is kind of about the training programs and things that we're doing. And one of those big events that we hold every year is our annual Small Business and Entrepreneurship Conference. And one of our one of our speakers this year. We are just honored and pleased to have. Can't wait to get Jim down here in the Treasure Coast. I may not take him back to the airport. We may just kind of hold him here for a couple of days and take him around town and learn from him.
You do a show out of here.
That's right.
Sure.
So again, I want to welcome to our show Mr. Jim Blassingame. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Hey, Tom. It's good to talk to you. Boy, what a great interview with Ken. What a great success story. What an example of the good work you guys are doing down there.
Yeah.
I don't have to tell you what a big advocate and supporter I am of small business development centers. So congratulations on that.
Yeah. And real quickly, I want to just do a little introduction. Jim, I'll let you kind of talk about yourself, but I want to hit a few high points so everybody kind of knows, where you come from, Jim. But Jim is one of the world's leading experts on small business and entrepreneurship. He is the creator and award-winning host of the syndicated weekday radio program, The Small Business Advocate Show. He's been doing that show since 1997. Called the Old Henry of Business Books, Jim is the author of 4 books which have sold 300,000 copies, including the multiple award winners, The Age of the Customer, and The Third Ingredient. And those are going to be books that Jim's going to talk about at our conference. He is a syndicated columnist to newspapers, magazines, and online publications, including Forbes.
What was that first? Did you say newspaper?
Yeah, newspaper.
What's that?
Yeah. Well, maybe Jim can talk to us about
yeah.
where the newspapers are nowadays.
He may want to explain that. Oh.
Right. Syndicated columnist for newspapers, magazines, and online publications, including Forbes, American City Business Journals, NASDAQ. As a champion of Main Street businesses, which I love to hear that, Jim has received numerous awards from national organizations such as the U.S. Small Business Administration, the SBA, the American Chamber of Commerce Executives, and the Association of Small Business Development Centers. So, Jim, again, welcome to the show. I really look forward to our conversation this evening and look forward to having you down in Fort Pierce. Have you ever been down in this neck of the woods, Jim?
I certainly have. I know you're part of the world very well.
Okay.
And I've been up and down the coast there, and I'm really looking forward to coming back.
Well, good. So kind of start us a little bit, Jim, with some background on yourself, experience, education, and I kind of talked a little bit about what you're doing now, but kind of update us.
Well, I appreciate that, Tom, and thank you again for having me here. And I don't want to spend too much more time talking about me. I'm a product of our public education system, and I got my college degree. I also got a commission in the Army. I spent some time in the military, but ever since then I've been in the marketplace. And during that time I worked my way through college. But about 30 years ago, in fact, 30 years ago this year, in fact, in a couple of months, I got downsized twice in 18 months. And the second time, I decided to start my own business instead of filling out a new resume, because I said to myself, I don't need any help screwing up my life. I can do that by myself.
Yes, I've done it very well, Jim. Yes.
So
Haven't we all?
I started my own business, a consulting business, not unlike your previous guest Ken's doing. I did that for a number of years, and then I was just arrogant enough, Tom, to think that I had something to say to more than one person at a time. And so I started my radio show, syndicated from the beginning. I've been on radio broadcasting since '97. I've been simulcasting. Not too many. I don't think you'll find too many other people who've been simulcasting on the internet for 21 years. I was podcasting before podcasting was even anybody ever named it podcasting. So I've been around a long time, but the bottom line is, in just about my whole career, I've either been a vendor to small businesses, or a consultant to small businesses, or a champion, an advocate of small businesses. So my gray hair is not premature. You can see that when you look at me. I've been around a long time, and I just think small business owners are the unheralded heroes of America, not just the marketplace, not just the economy, but of America. In fact, I can make the case for the world. And that's what I do every day in my work, and you guys do a great job down there. There's a lot of people to help, and I'm just proud to be able to be associated with you guys.
Jim, what
I'm
network?
really looking forward to our visit.
What network are you on?
Global American Broadcast Network out of Chicago.
Okay,
I've been with them I was their original show on that network back in 2001, and I've been with them ever since.
That's
Nice.
great. That's amazing. Good stuff.
You know, and Jim, you said something too that you know, when you go through business like you and I have, and I spent 25 years as a owner of and operator of a business, I've got all kinds of little anecdotes. But I'll never forget one of my suppliers. One time we were having a little conversation, and he had come out of I think government type work, and he told me one day, which for me was a pretty bold statement, but he said, you know, Tom, I'll never work again for a paycheck. He said, I'll never do that again. From here on out, for the rest of my life, I'm gonna control my own destiny. And you know, when you think about that kind of statement, that takes you know, a little guts there, you know, to say I don't want a regular paycheck. You know, I'm gonna.
Well, and when you become a small business owner, as you found out probably,
Yeah.
Tom, that's pretty handy attitude to
Yeah.
have, isn't it? Sometimes.
That's all right. I haven't had a paycheck in 25 years.
Yeah,
I don't even know what one looks like.
It fits into the business model. I'll tell you that much. Yes, that's good. You're prepared for it. Well, listen, you've got these two books, and you're going to kind of focus on the two books. I'd kind of like to talk tonight about one because, again, kind of close to my heart, the customer and how important customers are and how important the engagement with the customer is. So give a little brief overview of this Age of the Customer book that you've written.
Well, Tom, I started noticing in my work as a futurist, I started putting dots together on how things were changing probably 20 years ago, and as I saw technology empowering the marketplace in different ways, I saw different levers being moved, the levers of the marketplace being moved around, and so I started noticing that, and as a result of that thinking and that work, I wound up writing two books about it. The first one is The Age of the Customer. It's been out 5 years. It's sold almost 100,000 copies, and it's still selling. People are still wanting me to talk about it. And basically, here's the bottom line of that book is this: 10,000 years ago, when Og and Gog were beating each other for whatever they wanted from the other one, finally Og dropped his weapon one day and said, "Let's stop fighting and start doing business." And when they shook hands at that moment, trust was born, the marketplace was born, and ever since then, the relationship between a customer and a business has been based on three basic elements, I should say. One is the product, which is owned by the seller. The other is the information about the product, which had been owned by the seller for 10,000 years, and the third one is the buying decision, which was always owned by the customer, right? They get to do what they want to do. But as we emerged into the digital age, as the internet empowered, remember those levers I told you about, as the customer increasingly had more levers, more access to information, as they were able to do more of their own due diligence. Tom, when I worked for Xerox back in, well, a long time ago, I was my customer's internet. They needed to know what I had to say. They needed me to come by, even if they didn't want to buy anything from me, because they knew I was going to have news for them that they didn't have access to. And so that was a time when salespeople, when businesses owned the information. Right. But that was a nice trip down memory lane, wasn't it?
Yes.
Today, customers, and for the last really 20 years, in fact, we've had access to the internet for 26 years, and for the last 20 years at least, especially since e-commerce became ubiquitous, customers have had the ability to do their own due diligence, and they still need businesses to help them finish the sale, to do the final information on the product that they're buying. But basically, the way the ratio is now, and that was before I called that the age of the seller, 10,000 years. Now the age of the customer, and I marked that from 93, by the way. Since 1993, in the age of the customer, the three elements are this: the seller still owns control of the product, the customer still owns control of the buying decision, but the information about that product is now shared by the seller and the buyer.
All right.
And that's this paradigm shift. That's the most dramatic paradigm shift that any business has had to deal with. And there's still companies that don't get it, and there's still companies that are struggling with it. Therefore, hence the fact that I'm still selling my book and people are still asking me to talk about this. This is such a major shift. And after 10,000 years, it's still something people are having difficulty with.
Well,
it's that simple.
And I'll tell you, you're absolutely correct, and you hit the nail on the head. I will tell you, in my business, I was in the retail business. We sold equipment, and it was so interesting the shift that I saw, even in my 20 years in the business. Where all of a sudden people would walk in, customers would walk in, and they'd have a piece of paper rolled up in their hands. And if they had that piece of paper rolled up in their hands, I knew right then and there, I said, well, they've been to the internet and they already know what they want. And so those were the customers. You'd walk up and you'd say, can I help you? And they'd say, we want this model with these attachments, with these features. They knew exactly what they wanted. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Customers walked in
and a lot of companies, though, haven't trained their people to do what you just said, and so consequently they'll walk up to them and act like they don't know anything, and that just irritates them.
Right.
And so what you got to do is when you engage a customer now, you have to say, okay, so I don't waste any of your time. Tell me what you know and tell me what you need to know.
Right. Yeah.
And it's very interesting that you say this because CNBC had just done a series of stories on the brick and mortar companies that are failing. And it's just exactly what you have talked about, the paradigm shift.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So you talked about I picked up on it in the book. I mean, in some of your other research, you talk about the new economy, and I kind of want to get your take on what your definition and concept of this new economy is.
Well, the new economy is just basically driven by customer expectations. New economy is a word a lot of people banter around, and I'd really like to focus on customer expectations because, see, that's what's different about today than, say, 20 years ago. There was a time when you could start a business, and a long time ago, you could start a business and your grandchildren could run that business. The customers' expectations didn't change much, even over generations. Well, today, you and I both know that every new app is a potential new customer expectation.
Right.
And so the new economy is where the customer is not only empowered, or and by the way, that's the age of the customer. That's my term. I actually own that trademark. I came up with that term over 10 years ago, and so whenever customers have that kind of power in this age, then they are able to. They call the shots. And so the new part of this is every business, if they want to know what they want to do tomorrow or next year or 5 years from now, the sort of the scary news is it's not where it used to be. Somebody moved their cheese, right?
Yeah.
The good news is it's in the head of your customer. And the problem that you alluded to earlier, you guys alluded to earlier, that small businesses don't get yet. And in fact, not just small business. Many of corporate America organizations don't get this either. They're not talking to their customers enough. They're not asking them enough questions. But if they would do that, if you want to know what you're supposed to be doing tomorrow, a year from now, or 5 years from now, that's in the heads of your customers. And if you ask them, they'll tell you. Right. And not asking is the reason why people fail.
Yeah. And one of my, a concept that we teach in entrepreneurship is this, where we talk about the unique value proposition of your business.
Right.
And you refer to it somewhat as the differentiator. And I love that word. I can never spell it correctly, but I love that word differentiator. Explain, what that means to a business.
Think of it as another term that's a little easier, a little more fun to talk about, and that's special sauce.
That's right. The magic or the special sauce. All right, I like it.
There's no question. No. To all beef patty special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions. So the special sauce of a small business is something that corporate America would pay millions if they could do, if they had it. Corporate America is every corporate, every national firm is a 25-mile long train, and if they want to change something, they have to literally turn that 25-mile train around. Small business owners can turn on a dime, and we have a special sauce that allows us to customize everything we do for a customer, just about for that customer. And the reason it's so special is because it's why people come to small businesses. Why would somebody buy a product from a small business that's the same product that they might pay a little bit more than they would pay for another business? It's because when they walk in, somebody says, "Hey, Tom, welcome back."
Right.
Right? That's special sauce. Or, "Oh, wait a minute, Tom, you're doing that the wrong way. Let me show you how to use this. So not only will you get better use out of my product I just sold you, but you won't have to come back so soon." That's special sauce.
Yeah.
And that kind of behavior, that kind of capability, that kind of a gift to customers is why people do business with small businesses, even if they don't think about it that way, even if they don't realize it. That's why they come back. And here's the part that really troubles me, Tom. And I'm as a small business advocate, I deliver as much love as I do tough love. And the tough love is way too many small business owners don't realize that they have that special sauce. They remind me of the prettiest girl in school who a beauty queen, right? She's a homecoming queen, but she doesn't know she's beautiful. Small business owners don't know they're beautiful, and they need to get over that and fix that, because that's the big differentiator.
Yeah. Well, and you kind of touch on a subject too, because maybe they're so caught up in this battle against the big box stores. Do you think sometimes they may get a little
That's it.
they get a little diverted by the fight instead of focusing on the positives? They're kind of focusing on the negatives. I mean, is that part of it?
There's no question about it, Tom. What the deal is, here's what they have to remember. The prospect base, the customer base for Walmart or Amazon or any of those companies is the phone book. Small businesses customer base could be your friend Ken, who was just on a minute ago. He could make a living probably with 10 clients. The diner down the street could make a living with 200 clients. When you had your small business, you could have possibly made a living with 100 clients. Who knows? But it ain't the phone book.
Right.
And so what you have to do is realize that in America, people get what they need, and they only pay commodity prices for what they need, whatever that may be. Electricity, gasoline, they pay commodities price for that. But in America, customers want things, and what they want is anywhere from a little bit more to everything. And in the wanting of that, that's customization. That's special. And that's where small businesses shine. And it's the reason why somebody will buy tires from a small business and not save money over going to Walmart, because they'd rather do that. Because when they're at the tire store, and the owner who comes over and says, "Hey Jim, while I was under your car, I noticed that there's something else under there. And by the way, while we were in there, we fixed that, no charge." Right.
Well, and it's funny that you use the tire store as the example, because we have a great example in our community of a local who's built up an incredible business, and I guarantee you people will pay. They will certainly, not that he's more expensive, but I would certainly be willing to pay a little more to go there, because they are. The company is completely focused on customer service, and they're not transactional. It's about relationships at that place of business.
Exactly.
So yeah, you exactly right. The other big word that I have trouble spelling and saying that you use is the authenticity that customers see. Is that kind of what you're talking about? That's
exactly what it is. But let me give you an example of how it might show up today. Have you watched a video on YouTube where some small business owner was trying to show people how to buy roofing or to put siding up or to clean their gutters or to put out pre-emergent on their yard. Have you seen those little smartphone videos that might last 90 seconds and it's crude and it's rude and it's not highly produced?
Right.
And yet it's this business owner speaking from the heart, talking to anybody that he can or she can help, and it's just so human. It's humanity you can cut with a knife, and only a small business can get away with that.
Right.
If corporate, and I'm not busting corporate America. I love them. They're my customers.
Right.
They're my sponsors. I love them, but they would kill to be able to have that kind of authenticity. And small business owners have it coming out of their ears. It exudes out of their skin, authenticity, and people love authenticity. And I'll tell you something else. This is a really important point. 35 or more years ago, John Nesbitt wrote a book called Megatrends. In that book, he said, the more high tech we have, the more high touch we will want. I call that Nesbitt's razor, and it was a prophecy, and that was in '82, by the way. I mean, that was when
that's
we barely
brilliant.
had PCs.
Well,
Go
ahead.
Come to pass, Tom. What's come to pass is that the more high tech we have, the more we're gravitating. We desire. We need the human touch, and authenticity delivered by small business is human touch on steroids.
Right. Well, and I was going to ask you about this concept of high touch. So, I mean, you're basically what you're saying is we become more, disengaged because of technology, face to face. Really, customers are really looking for that face to face.
And that's the reason why I think small business owners have every day that goes by, instead of being at a disadvantage from the big retailers, Amazon, they're at an advantage. Let me give you one quick example. I went on Amazon and looked up back scratchers. You can buy 143 different kinds of back scratchers at Amazon, and there's not 25 cents worth of difference in the price of any of them. But Amazon can't scratch one back.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And small businesses, if they sell you a back scratcher, they can show you how to use that back
Sure.
scratcher.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. You know, one of the favorite comments I read, in your material was you said, "Here is the good news: you don't have to win the online technology race with Amazon, Google, or Walmart, but you do have to enter the race." I'm telling you, I literally got a phone call a couple of months ago from a local reporter. I can't remember who he was writing for, but he was a local reporter. And the question was, Tom, how do you at the SBDC advise people? How does a small business compete against Amazon? So you actually address it, in your writing, and you say you got to at least get in the race. So kind of explain what you're thinking there is.
Well, here's the thing: everybody's using technology more. I was at an airport a while back, and there were two guys older than me, if you can believe it. They were traveling together. They looked like brothers. They honestly looked like they had, they were brothers. They looked so much alike, and they were enjoying spending time together. They were probably in their 80s. And one of them was showing the other this cool new app he found. They were sitting next to me. I could hear their conversation. Now think about that. So everybody's using technology more. So that's a new expectation. Every customer has increasing expectations for being able to use technology to live their lives. And what I'm saying about this is that small businesses can't out-tech the big companies. We don't have the money. But we don't have to have everything that Amazon or Walmart or whoever has. But we do need to be able to deliver some technology services. For example, if a product if somebody orders something from you, and you tell them it's going to be in 4 days, and they're happy with that, well, in 2 days, when you get a notice from the shipper that it's en route and it's going to be delivered by noon on Friday, send them an email. Say, hey, just wanted you to know your product will be here on Friday, like I promised. Now, you did that manually by an email. You can even there are ways to automate that. But look how simple that was, and look at that helped that person, that customer, know when they could have it. It told them that you were telling them the truth, that it's actually going to be here, when they could get it, and all the fancy schmancy stuff that Amazon might do that looks like that isn't any better than that. It's just fancier. And so you don't have to win the race with Amazon or with Walmart or whoever, but you do have to be in the race. You have to use technology.
And technology is it's a whole lot more affordable today for small businesses. There's, small business can have a pretty sophisticated website now. You can use apps in a small business now. So you're right. It really has become a little more available to small business people. It's not out of reach for them.
The small businesses that aren't going to make it are the ones who refuse to come into the digital age at all. And folks, I hate to tell you this, it's more my tough love. You've got to be able to at least show up and run in the race. You don't have to win. You don't even have to come in the middle. You can even come in near the last, but you have to demonstrate to the customer that you're not completely refusing to be part of the life that they live.
Yeah, good point. Now, obviously, when you any of your material that folks will look at, you obviously are, you're making presentations quite frequently at very large, business organizations. You've presented and facilitated meetings for the SBA. You've been in front of the Community Bankers Association. I think you were. Shared the stage with Mitt Romney at the Latino Coalition for Economic Development. U.S.
You've done your homework.
That's right. I've done my homework. That's right. U.S. Chamber. Talk a little bit about these speaking engagements and kind of what's the hot topic out there now for these big organizations? What do they want you to speak on?
The hot topic right now is workers. The national crisis, and it's a bigger crisis than most people realize, is finding qualified people. It's been going on for some time now, but it's getting hot and heavy. There was a time 3 or 4 years ago when the economy was still struggling, when people were having a hard time hiring people. But today, that's when they weren't growing that much. They were just trying to fill slots. But today there are growth opportunities that are going wanting. There are companies, large and small, who are saying we can't grow until we hire more people. And so the issues, and I've reported on this a lot on my show, the issue is twofold. Number one, we can't find enough welders. I'm going to use that as an example. We can't find enough people.
It's
who
a
can
hot
weld.
topic here in our own region.
Yeah.
Right. But it could be a lot of different things. I'm just going to use that as an example.
Right.
We can't find enough welders. And when we do find a welder, we can't find a welder who can pass a drug test or has a driver's license.
Yeah.
Or we can't find a person who knows how to function in an office like we'd like for them to, and when they actually show up for the interview, they don't know how to act in the interview. They show up looking like they're hanging out with their buddies instead of the appropriate respect for that. I mean, this is what I hear. These are the internals.
Right.
When you hear about the crisis being reported on television by the talking heads, they hit that high spots. But the internals it's not just that we can't find enough welders or people to do this or that. It's that we can't find people who are qualified to be good employees in those stores too.
Yeah,
and this is a crisis. There's 6 million jobs going wanting, and I've got 2 different sources that tell me 2 different things, but somewhere between 500,000 and 2 million manufacturing jobs are going wanting. Think about that.
And we've heard that from our local Treasure Coast Manufacturing Association.
Yeah, it definitely. You're right. I mean, it's certainly a hot topic for us around the Treasure Coast. When you're down, I'm sure you'll get some questions and you'll hear about that quite a bit. And you touch on, which is something that we work a lot with our clients with our training programs. We call them employability skills. So we do. We always kind of try to weave in to any training for folks, some time dedicated to what we call employability skills, interviewing skills and how to get along, in a
Things
team.
we used to take for granted that still aren't being taught in school, we can no longer take for granted anymore.
Right. Well, and so, talk a little bit about too, the importance of training. You know, Ken spoke earlier about the importance of training for entrepreneurs. I mean, obviously, one of the things that I came across in your writings too was that happy customers always find a way back to a business that train their employees and train them to say thank you and train them to engage with the customer. So talk a little bit about your views on training.
Well, you don't want to get me started on thank you. That's one of my. I go nuts when I hear people say no problem.
Right.
No
I
problem.
I wrote an article recently, and I said no problem is the vuvuzela of customer service. But anyway, no. The thing is, there was a time when you could bring somebody on to work, and you could train them how to do the job, and they already knew how to say yes, ma'am. They already knew how to say thank you. They already knew how to, But today, and it's not the young people's fault. But today you can't presume that anymore. Right. We have to train our employees, not only on the technical part, but we have to train them. We have to say to them, okay, these people have 25 different places in the community to buy something besides us, and 25,000 places online to buy something from us. If they come into our shop, we love them up. We make them feel like we're so happy to have them here that we can't stand it, and that cannot include saying to them no problem when there isn't a problem. We have to say thank you. You can't say thank you to a customer too many times.
Right.
But also you have to train your people, and you have to give them something. Not only tell them what to do, but you have to empower them to solve problems for customers. You have to give them the ability to take initiative. You know what? I'm sorry that this has happened to you. Let me. You know what? I'm just going to replace this for you. And I don't. You got your parameters. You got your guidelines that you have to go. But when you do that for a customer, that's a customer you won't be able to run off. Right. That's a customer for life.
That's right. And
it takes training. It won't happen automatically. It takes training.
And you're going to get a chance to meet our president of Indian River State College. But Dr. Massey, is I always tell folks that it's really it's really a privilege and a pleasure to have a president like Dr. Massey who really, and I always say, just he gets it. He understands business. While he's responsible for a very big academic program, obviously, he does have a very deep engagement and understanding of economic development, and that's why we're lucky to have programs like the SBDC and the CCTI here. And I'll never forget one time Dr. Massey was making a presentation to the college, and he told the folks at the college, he said, you got to find a way to say yes. And it was great. I mean, I really appreciated that. And I think that's kind of what you're saying with customers. I mean, you got to find a way to say yes, we can solve the problem.
That's exactly right. And that's part of the special sauce. No question about it.
Well, listen, we appreciate you taking time out tonight. Now, you're coming down to the Treasure Coast to join us for our 7th annual Entrepreneurship and Small Business Conference on May the 7th. And you're gonna present for us at lunch, which I think you'll be impressed with the lunch crowd. There's not an empty seat in the house at lunch, so you'll have a good, very engaging crowd. So you'll be presenting there, and then after lunch, you're going to actually lead one of our breakout sessions, and I think you're going to take us through your book, The Third Ingredient. Just real quickly.
I thought we reversed. It doesn't matter. See, we're going to talk about The Third Ingredient. Is a book about it's a companion in a way to the Age of the Customer.
Right.
Because it's all part of this shift that the internet has created. We can no longer assume that wherever our influence is in the marketplace, that our ethics will go with that influence.
Right.
In the old days, before the internet, wherever you went, if you had a hammer in your hand, whatever you did with that hammer, you were connected to it. So your influence went with that hammer.
Right.
Today, our leverage is under the inner key, and we can no longer assume that our ethics are going with that what's underneath that inner key, and that's what the new book's about. It's a topic that nobody else is talking about, and it's about the fact that for 10,000 years we practiced analog ethics, and now we have to start practicing digital ethics.
Wow. I'm looking forward to it.
Me
now,
too.
all the conference attendees are going to get a copy of the book, and you're going to be available to sign books at the conference, are you not?
I will stay there till as long as it takes.
All right, and
that feeds my ego, Tom. Why would I leave?
That's right. So, how does one find out more about you to kind of get ready for your presentation on May the 7th, and find out about your books and your collection of business information and research?
My website is smallbusinessadvocate.com. They can go to jimblastingame.com and find out more about me and my books. Of course, the books are available on Amazon. But why would you buy one if we're gonna give you one?
That's right.
But if you're out of the Port St. Lucie area, go ahead and buy it.
That's right.
Anyway, no, there's a lot of stuff there on the line. I mean, I'm all over the internet. I've been doing this a long time.
Okay.
And I just can't wait to be with your folks. I'm so proud of what you guys are doing down there, Tom. Your partnership with the college, and with all the other folks there. You know how I feel about SBDCs.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking forward to being with your heroes.
Okay.
Very much.
All right, Mr. Blasingame, thank you so much for taking time out this evening and kind of preface what's going to be a great conference this year. That's Tuesday, May the 7th, right here on main campus at Indian River State College during National Small Business Week. It is the 7th annual Small Business and Entrepreneurship Conference right here at Indian River State College. Mr. Blasingame, thank you so much. Ken, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kindred.
Yes, sir. And with that, we'll bring to a close another segment of Startup Talk right here from the Dan K. Richardson Entrepreneurship Development Institute at Indian River State College, and we will talk to you next Thursday evening.
So now, were you even going to hint that you're an award winner now?
No, I was
IRSC?
not going to hint on that, no.
Well, congratulations,
Well,
my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I did pick up a small award the other day from Dr. Massey at Indian River State College. I'm proud of it, and I tell people, while my name is on the plaque, it was earned by everybody in our division at the EDI. So I appreciate all their support.
Very cool. Congratulations,
Thanks,
Tom.
sir.
And we'll see you next week on WPSL Port St. Lucie, WSTU Stewart, WPSL and WSTU worldwide on Alexa and Google Home on TuneIn.